Welcome back, everybody. We're coming to you live from the Matisipere Convention Centre in Kimberley in the Northern Cape. That will be the home for the launch of this year's National Science Week 2019 under the banner of facing the harsh realities of climate change. Now, in March this year, the Council for the Scientific and Industrial Research launched a state-of-the-art online climate risk profiling and adaptation tool. And to tell us more about this particular tool, we joined by the project manager for the CSIR, Miss Kathryn Arnold, and joining her is Dr. Tendai Musvuugwa, and she's the lecturer in the Department of Biological and Agricultural Sciences at Sol Plaatje University. A very good morning to you, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kathryn, let me start with you. Briefly tell us about how this technology works.
Yes, so the Green Book isn't actually a book. It's an online planning support tool that was created specifically to help local governments adapt our settlements to climate change. And if we think about what's been happening in the last 4 decades, we know we're seeing an increase in extreme weather-related events. Thinking about the floods we recently had in KwaZulu-Natal and Durban, the droughts in Cape Town, and the wildfires in Knysna. And so this is really the backdrop for which we created the Green Book. It has 3 components. There's a municipal risk profiling tool which helps municipalities to know what they are at risk to, so it gives a risk profile for each of the municipalities. There's the climate adaptation actions tool which tells municipalities how, based on their risks, how they can adapt, and then there's a set of 11 interactive story maps which tell the national picture, so they narrate the user through what we can expect in terms of climate change, urban growth, our natural hydrometeorological hazards, and how climate change will affect our resources, so agriculture, the economy, and then groundwater and surface water resources.
So which municipalities at this point are using this tool, and how does it help them maximize the impact?
Yes, so it's a very exciting phase of the project at the moment. We've just launched, as you said, in March, and so we've trialled it or tested the Green Book in 2 municipalities, the Steve Tshwete local municipality, which is Middelburg and Mpumalanga, and another municipality in KwaZulu-Natal, and we're about to enter a new phase where we will be piloting it in 3 municipalities. These are still to be decided, but this will involve capacity building and training within these municipalities across the country. But I think what we intend is that eventually all municipalities will know about the tool and that they'll start using it to support their planning and decision-making functions.
Dr. Musvuugwa, let me bring you into this conversation. I mean, we've been talking about climate change, but not so many people really understand the true meaning and the impact of climate change on our lives. Just what is it, and why is it still such a myth?
Okay, so actually climate change is not really a myth. It's actually something that is real and that is happening. And I'm glad for a function such as this because it gets to put our awareness and people get to know about climate change and some of the effects. So basically speaking, climate change, it refers to the change in climatic conditions such as weather patterns that happens over a long period of time. So we are talking of decades or even up to 1 million years. So for example, we are talking of changes in global average temperatures or changes in rainfall or seasons. Seasons are changing. Maybe the time they come for at a year is now different from when it used to be. And then of course there are effects. We are already feeling them, and we are already if I give an example of the floods in Durban earlier in the year, Cyclone Tendai, or the droughts that we've been experiencing here in the Northern Cape and in the Western Cape. These are some of the effects of climate change that we are experiencing.
And when you say that it can be attributed to the ever-changing weather patterns, but I suppose it can also be attributed to human behavior.
Yes, definitely. Humans, our activities contribute a lot to causing global warming and climate change because we have activities such as the use of fossil fuels that emit greenhouse gases that contribute to global warming. We are destructing habitats such as forests through deforestation. Therefore, we are destroying trees that can actually absorb these some of these gases like carbon dioxide. And then even the vehicles that we drive, we are using petrol, diesel, and then in turn we are releasing and emitting gases from this. So it's all these activities that are caused by human beings.
All right. Now, Kathryn, can we at all, I'm just curious, can we at all reverse the effects or the impacts of climate change through technological advancement?
Well, I think the aim of the Green Book is really to help municipalities to understand their risk, and then based on that to take measures to adapt our cities so that by 2050, because that's when the Green Book looks forward to, that we will have livable, sustainable and resilient, climate resilient settlements which are safe to live in for all of our people.
Dr. Musvuugwa, just I'm going to pose the same question to you. Do you think we should be looking at finding innovative ways of making sure that we can reverse or mitigate the impacts of climate change?
Yeah, we should be looking at such ways for mitigating, starting from the higher structures in the governments, in policy formulation, up to the individual. Let's look at what can I do as an individual. For example, let's move on to the use of renewable energy, such as solar energy. Let's restore those ecosystems like the forests and mangroves that absorb this extra carbon dioxide. As individuals, let's also use energy efficient bulbs, say in our homes. Let's also use solar panels to power our homes. So it's little things like this that we can do to contribute. But also because we are also feeling the effects of climate change, it's not just about mitigating, but also adaptation. What do we do right now to face what's already happening? So it's also things that we have to put into our structures and policies.
But the highly industrialized countries are taking us 10 steps back.
Yes, definitely. We are getting more and more industrialized, and in the process it means we are using more of these fossil fuels. So that's why I said governments or the top structures, you start looking at ways of using alternative clean energy sources that don't contribute to emission of greenhouse gases.
All right, ladies, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, we've just been in conversation with Kathryn Arnold. She is the project leader of the CSIR, and of course Dr. Tendai Musvuugwa, and she's a lecturer in the Department of Biological and Agricultural Sciences at Sol Plaatje University right here in Kimberley. They've been sharing with us about some of the harsh realities facing climate change and about the impact and the effects of climate change. This is Morning Live. Let's take a coffee break.